Good evening, Saints fans, and here we are, another Monday night here, and another get together of running with the Saints here with the head coach of Saints varsity football, Mike Biehl. Mike, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, Rags. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, and appreciate your time. And hey, so we get together this week, and the team went on the road, and not only came back with a win, but a shutout win.
Yeah, super proud of our guys. Man, I was just saying a second ago, we don't make it easy, and we got to make it interesting. We actually went into half nothing,
Wow.
tied up at 0. We had turned down 2 goal line stands that they took a march inside our 5-yard line twice. Caused a fumble both times.
Oh, nice.
So really, let up some explosive plays in the run game a little bit on some missed tackles, a couple of miscommunications as far as who had what gap and things like that. But then just kept playing, played the next play. Like I said, took a big stand on the goal line to turn them away. And then, offensively, we moved the ball fairly well at times, got down into the red zone a couple times, had some pre-snap penalties, allowed kind of one negative play to turn into 2, and then all of a sudden you're in 3rd and long when you were in the red zone. But for kind of regrouping at halftime and really just taking control of the game a little, the way we knew we were capable of. But man, it was one of those things. We turned them over 4 times in the game, so gave our offense a ton of opportunities and just kind of had to get into a rhythm and kind of take a deep days. And our playmakers made the most of their opportunity. Took multiple quick game plays and turned them into explosives, which you got to do. High percentage passes, make a guy miss, and then block for your buddy. And that happened a couple instances. Greer Barkley had a 5-yard option route that he turned into a 30-yard explosive. Took that opportunity, threw a double move to Howard Casterlow down the sideline, and then 20-yard throw to Madden Gilliott in the back of the end zone. And that's kind of how it broke things wide open. And I felt like once we got the first one, defensively kind of put the pressure on them a little bit. It kind of forced them to throw it a little bit more than they would have liked. And again, just hats off to our defense. Just they played so many snaps. I think there was 130 total plays, and we only had 36 offensive plays. So,
Oh, wow.
so our defense was on the field a lot. And I want to say I told the guys today we had 6 3-and-outs, 4 turnovers. I think we had 6 or 7 sacks, 10 or 11 TFLs. Like we did a really good job. And if you take away some of the explosives in the run game, you're talking about a really, a shutout is a stellar performance. But if you take away some of the explosives, it's easily one of our best days defensively for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, not only here pitching the shutout there with the defense, but two goal line stances, and 4 turnovers, 5 or 6 sacks. I mean, that's and then throw in the TFLs. I mean, nice. I would have to say an A game there on the defense, and even on those explosive plays, just to not give up and bring the runner down, and just hey, okay, they got away for one big play, but let's stand tall and make a defensive stance right now.
Yeah, that's something, I keep preaching to our guys about in terms of the character of our team. Like I know we have the right set of characters in this group in terms of, just getting on to the next play, taking care of your responsibility. Whatever happened the previous 4 to 6 seconds. Let's move on to the next 4 to 6 seconds and make a play there. And that's, they proved that time and time again. And the good thing too is, it's so much easier to point out some corrections in film, when we're coming off of a win. And there's, even in the shutout, there's a ton of really small instances where, maybe we're a little missed. Maybe our eyes aren't quite in the right spot. That if you clean some of that stuff up, you're making even bigger plays more often. And that's kind of what we preach today in film. But we got a lot of guys that care, that want to do well. And even in the explosive plays, a lot of them were, like I said, were missed tackles. And it's not for a lack of effort. Like a lot of it is flying to the ball in pursuit and then maybe being a little bit out of control, trying to make a big hit or get the ball down. And you're like, hey, you love the effort. We don't want to overcoach that. Like that's got to be a constant. But then, let's look at our technique. Let's look at our pad level, look at where your eyes are tracking. Are they on the near hip or are you just going? So it's a lot easier to clean some of that stuff up in a win for sure.
Yeah. And it also, I mean, I know that, it was a couple hour drive. It's definitely a little bit better when you're coming back home and not only on a win, but then also with the defense having a shutout.
Well, let's talk about that trip a little bit.
Okay.
I tell you what, in 9 years, I've been to Roanoke probably 7 times. So you're talking 4+ hour trip. I've been to Charlottesville 5 times via Blue Ridge or Stab, Fredericksburg 4 times. We've taken some trips in 9 years. I've never had an experience like this. And I'll try to keep it to the short version, but going into Hargrave, which I'd never been to before, you go down a ramp and there's a gate that leads into their athletic facility. And when I say our driver, basically rubbed the paint off the bus, making the turn to get in, I'm not exaggerating. He made it by inches and acted like it was no big deal. And we're all looking like that was so close. So the game was at 5:30. We probably got on the bus maybe 8:15, 8:30. And, to our bus driver's credit, he went out the same way he went in, up the ramp, trying to make the same turn. So he makes the turn and really quickly realizes, I'm not going to make the turn. So he stops and we're doing, multiple point turns. And in the midst of backing up and trying to get the right angle, he gets stuck.
Oh, no.
And I'm talking stuck. Like the back of the bus is on cement. The back wheels are off the ground and there's no moving it. There's nothing we can do. So, we get out, we try to push, which was not very smart. You're not going to push a bus that big. I don't care how many guys you have. So, instantly, people were starting to worry a little bit, this is going to take a while. So luckily a bunch of parents kind of circled back around because we had pretty close to the whole team on the bus. But we had a bunch of parents go and make the trip. So a bunch of them came back, put as many kids in each car that they could. And there was probably 10 kids left, all the coaches, our trainer, our student trainers. So probably about 12 or 14 of us, give or take. So tow truck came, had to hook it up to the back. It was pulling the bus so hard that the tow truck was getting dragged through the grass and mud that it was in.
Oh, jeez.
They back up, they readjust, they hook a rope on. 2 seconds into pulling the rope breaks. We're a good 2 hours into this deal at this point. It's probably 9:45. Yeah. So finally, after they break 2 other implements, they put the steel chains on and pull it, and we get on the bus. It's 10:30 at this point. So, I'm trying to fall asleep. I'm trying to do whatever to make this trip go fast. But every
Right.
time I wake up, the time to school hasn't changed.
Oh no.
We got back to school at about 2:30
Oh wow.
because the driver on the way back missed like 5 exits. I was asleep the whole time, so I didn't know. But I get out of the bus, I'm like, it's 2:30 right now. So, needless to say, it was the longest trip ever. But what was even better, I'm thinking about the film now. We got to upload the film. You know, we shot the end zone, they shot the wide. So I go home, I'm already awake. I upload the film, send it to Hargrave, get up the next morning. They didn't send their film of the wide of the other part of the game that I need. 12 o'clock when it comes to, I'm calling the coach. What's going on? Video guy got locked out of his iPad.
Uh,
Couldn't access the film. So we don't get our game film till 9:30 that night. So it's
uh,
back up. It's another basically an all-nighter. I mean, it was a long, long weekend, my man.
oh.
The
You
life,
know,
life of high school football, man.
well, that's the thing. I mean, when you're the head coach, you're the assistant, you know, and all the preparations. I mean, it's a little bit more than just practice Monday through Thursday, and then you know, game time there on Friday or Saturday afternoon. A little bit more entails just good old Murphy, you know.
Well, it's funny because with Huddle, when I send film out, whether it's our game film or like tonight, I'll send multiple cut ups to our guys of, you know, Shore's first down runs or their throws of a certain person, whatever. They'll get notified via email when I send it to them. And the first thing guys said to me today, this morning, when they got to school, they're like, "When did you get the film?" Because I sent it, you know,
I
I had to
see.
break it down. I'd do the down and distance, formation, the plays, the stats, the whole thing. So I didn't send it to them till probably like 1:45 in the morning. And I'm like, so I explained to them, like, this is what happened. They're like, "Oh my God." So yeah, it was, you know, and you just have to get it done. Like
Right.
you have to be able to correct. They want to watch themselves. You know, usually I'll put notes on it and corrections. I was like, guys, we're gonna break this down together on Monday. Like I got to move on to the next game, so I didn't have time to do it. So that's what we kind of spent Monday looking at our stuff and correcting some things, and then introducing Shores and things like that. But just like you said, I think probably the average person thinks we just go out and call some plays, you know, practice some things, but like there's some preparation involved here if
Yeah,
you want to
right.
do it the right way.
Yeah, and you know the other thing is with going into this coming week's game. I mean, Atlantic Shores not only a crosstown rival, but a Division II rival there in the state. You know, and I see that you guys are 2-2. They're they're 3-1, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, good for you guys. It's another home game. You know,
Yep.
you guys have had three road games already, but you know, second home game here for the football team.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great test. You know what I told my guys, I have a ton of respect for Coach Lance. We're both on the Vista football committee, so we talk a lot. We trade a lot of notes. I respect, you know, everything he's done with that program, and really he's been the model of consistency over the last, you know, really 5 to 10 years. That they really have consistently been a contender for a championship, and now is no different. He's got his son. His son Micah's the starting quarterback, and I've been able to see his maturation. over the last 3 years, and I respect the heck out of his game, being a former quarterback and kind of seeing it through those eyes, and to see him, really build his game up to where it is now is pretty cool to see. But they've got a ton of players. They've got Chris Higgins, who's committed to William and Mary, who's, he's a 6'4", 220-pound receiver safety. And there's probably 5 or 6 other recruitable guys on that team. They put a ton of work into it. So, it's going to be a challenge, and you got to come prepared and do your homework and understand what type of game it's going to be. And, I think our guys are up for the challenge. We've had some battles with them in the past. But like I said, wouldn't want to do it with anybody else, especially Coach Lance.
Yeah, and then so looking at y'all's remaining schedule, it looks like that this is the last non-conference for a couple weeks, because you guys play Catholic and Norfolk Academy. Now, is there still a TCIS, or I think it's just just you three there for TCIS football, right?
Yeah,
NSA, Catholic, and Norfolk Academy.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting deal, because I want to say you need 4 teams to make up a conference, and we've had that for the past 5 or 6 years or so, since Greenbrier and HRA dropped out. But it'll be interesting this year with 3 teams. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming there's still a TCIS football as far as being able to like vote for all conference, but that kind of waters down the all conference team in terms of who makes it and who doesn't. You kind of only, if you do it, you can only have one, basically a first team, in my opinion, with as few teams. But we have great relationships between the 3 of us. It'd be nice, and I think we've kind of talked about it before. It'd be great if all the 757 private schools could form a conference and have a championship and have an all conference team and do those things. And I think, hopefully with the advent, or I should say, like the reincarnation of a few programs joining back into the fold, we can do that again.
Yeah, and and then also, I mean, looking at y'all's schedule there at Max Preps, it looks like the game against Catholic is a Thursday night game.
Yeah, so Catholic got moved to Thursday because we have fall break on that Friday.
Okay.
But it works out pretty well, because the following week against NA is a Thursday game, for Rosh Hashanah being on Friday. So initially, it's funny, Mr. Barkley, our head of school, approached me in the summer and was like, "Hey, did you know this game was going to be on fall break?" And I mean, football guy, I'm like, "What does that mean?"
Yeah, right.
The game's on Friday. It's always been on Friday. Like, it's never been an issue. But he's got pretty good foresight in terms of like, hey, there's going to be families that want to travel, and all those things. Grumpy football guys like, and like, let's play the game, and they can. But it works out. When he mentioned the following week was Friday anyway against NA, it makes a lot of sense to make that an even week on both games. So it works out pretty well.
Yeah. So hey, when you guys turn the page to October, forget TNF on Prime. It's TNF there, and with it being Catholic and Norfolk Academy, a little TCIS on TNF.
Yeah, yeah. I tell you what, man, over the years, we've had some crazy midweek games. I remember it was probably about 5 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer than that. We had a really bad string of tropical storms, and I remember a game against Blue Ridge. We were supposed to play Friday night. It got moved to Monday. And then the next week we were supposed to play Isle of Wight. It was a Friday game, got moved to the following like Tuesday. It was like 4 or 5 games in a row that we were playing on Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Monday. It was unreal. And you just do the best you can in preparation and get your guys ready and just get ready to compete. But Thursday, it's not a bad deal. I'm always more worried about the prep that goes into it. Like, all right, how's it going to mess our days up? Are we going to have a full week of prep? Are we going to have to, curtail, what we usually do? So both games being on Thursday makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, well, that should be fun and exciting, especially with you know the game against Catholic. Being at home, being on the heels to start fall break, but probably have some school spirit or some type of theme, there with. But this Friday here against Atlantic Shores, I mean, hey, for right now, don't worry about the bus trips.
Yeah.
Be nice to play in front of the home folks.
I mean, I think we've earned the right to be not in a bus 3 or 4 hours away. Nah, I mean, I think we've talked about it before. There's something pretty cool about going on the road and playing in front of other people's fans. Kind of feel that animosity a little bit. Which Hargrave, that was a really cool environment with their cadets were all
Yeah.
there, all the families of their players were there, and the setting is pretty cool. The way they have it's basically uh, like an in-ground field. It's like you have to walk down a ramp to get in, and the stands on the home side are cement, and they're into like an enclave, like built in, concrete steps, the whole deal. So it was a cool setting. Unfortunately, it rained, I think, every day that week, so the field was like slip and slide, which
Oh,
that had a little bit to do with some of the missed tackles. But to be able to play at home will be a luxury that we will not take for granted after a trip like that. There's no doubt.
right. Yeah, and and so with a military academy, I mean, is that that's ninth through 12th, right?
Yeah, it's funny because in the midst of waiting for our bus to get pulled out, I was with their AD for quite a while, just kind of firing questions. There was nothing else to do, so I got the whole rundown of the PG football and what the plans are moving forward, and why they're just PG basketball right now, what they plan to do. They're going to do PG baseball pretty soon. But it's a cool place, and I was telling their AD when I was at Kent State, we regularly recruited Hargrave because it was a gold mine. That was
Right.
one of the biggest. That was one of the biggest, basically coaching clinics every year. They would hold their combine, and every school in the country would be there because these kids in the PG program were 4 and 5 star kids, to the point where at Kent State we would bring 2 or 3 in, and they'd be backups on those
Right.
teams. They would
Right.
they would be second and third string guys that we would really have to watch the film and then get numbers on, and they would come right in and compete. And it was that caliber of a place at the time. So it's a little sad to see that part of it go away, but Coach Cothran over there is building the regular program back up to where it should be, and they've got a good team. So it was cool to go there and compete.
Right. Well, hey, Mike, I mean, sometimes here with road trips, you kind of take it for granted, but glad that you guys got back safely, and you talk about talking to Hargraves AD. I mean, it's with how the bus and the tow truck was struggling. I mean, there's really nothing that you guys could have done.
The best was, and their AD's awesome. Like it was very obvious. I mean, she was really worried about just us getting out of there. But the best was like maybe 45 minutes into us waiting for the tow truck, one of like the security officers for campus came by and kind of poked his head around, saw our bus stuck. He's like, who let the bus down the ramp? We usually don't even let buses down the ramp. I looked at the AD like that would have been pretty helpful if somebody was here letting us know not to go down this ramp. She just like, you came a little bit early, which we were. We always do. I'm like, whoa, somebody could have met us on the way out and told us not to take. Like, it was just a comedy of errors that you kind of just got to shrug and, at least we're together. We got
Right.
through it, so it is what it is.
Well, and the thing is, if everything went as clockwork, I mean, the trip wouldn't be as interesting. And just think of the stories. But no, I know that we've started this.
No, it's definitely. I've got my, I got my 75-year-old dad with us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, hey,
It
we
was something
can't
else, man.
we can't finish the episode without talking about NSA's alum there at James Madison. And folks, that was not a basketball score. Nothing like George Petway and JMU going to Chapel Hill and not only scoring 70, but beating the Tar Heels 70-50.
Yeah, that was fun. Man, I had a feeling, I don't obviously during our season, I don't get to delve super far into ACC football.
Right.
But I've been paying attention to the people on their schedule, and I had a really good idea that those guys were going to go in and do some damage, and that's exactly what they did. UNC's been struggling a little bit, losing the starting quarterback week 1 and kind of trying to pick the pieces up and get into a rhythm. But, JMU's been rolling. The continuity they have with that offense and really what the other side of the ball is doing and forcing offenses into some predictable patterns after the quarterback. I mean, they've got a lot of draftable guys on both sides of the ball. Like that's an FCS. That's a mid-major team I would not want to see as a Power 4 team. But I was fun on the way up to Hargrave. I got to watch George's press conference that he did the day before, and I mean, you talk about being locked in and being ready for the moment. It was obvious those guys weren't afraid of being on that stage with those guys ready to compete at all, and that was proof from start to finish. But more than anything, it was just great to see George. I mean, he was the every down back, just churning along hard, tough yards, running some plays into 10, 15-yard plays, just doing what he.
Right. Yeah. And as James Madison, they definitely had the facilities, to move up there at the FBS level, but they had to wait until the Sun Belt, came calling. But seeing that score and what they did to Chapel Hill, and I know that they still have to come to Norfolk here in mid-November.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to try to get to that game one way or another, whether I got to use your connections or George or somebody. But that's going to be a great matchup. Looking at the makeup of Old Dominion's roster versus JMU's roster, that's going to be a knockdown, drag out type of event. That by that point in the season, both teams should be playing their best ball. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, well, hey, Mike, appreciate your time. Glad the team, not only won, but going on the road. And good luck here this Friday. As you guys play Atlantic Shores, and go Saints.
I appreciate it, man.
Yep. All right. So that's another weekly episode here with NSA Football. Good night, everybody.